Well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. and this is the first webinar for Kinetics of 2024. So welcome to the AVD, the Future of Secure Remote Access to 365 web and web-based software. So I'm really pleased to be here to cover this topic. A lot of our customers are using some of the legacy products and are looking for a way to move their environments into the cloud. And this is a key enabler. So let me run through a bit of housekeeping, and then I'll do an introduction to Andrew Hart, who's on the call now. Just pop your hand up there, Andrew. He's joined us from Data, and he's our specialist speaker today on the topic. We'll have some Q&A after the session, but as usual, please be aware that you can actually use the chat function throughout the presentation and ask questions. We'll either try and address them as we go, or we'll circle back to them in the Q&A session to have a bit more of a rounded discussion about the topics that you raise. Your microphones are on mute, and that is because this is more of a push presentation to give the information to you. And then, as I said, we can pick up a conversation at the end. Please use that chat function because there might be relevant questions that you really want to have covered as a result of this. Also be aware that we've got a copy of the presentation that we'll share via the chat with all of you that you can then share with your colleagues. We'll also be recording this session so that if you want to actually pass on the recording to any of your colleagues to gain additional information, or if you've got people who are interested in the topic, you can share it with them later. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Andrew to go into a little bit of a description around Azure Virtual Desktop, and I suppose what it's there for, what it's trying to actually achieve, and then what relevance it might have for your particular business. Over to you, Andrew, and welcome.
Cool, thanks, Matt, and hello, everyone. Nice to virtually meet everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join the call. So I thought a good place to start would be sort of asking the question, what is Virtual Desktop? Some of you might know, some of you might have an idea, but let's just kind of break it down. So Azure Virtual Desktop, or AVD for short, is very similar to remote desktop services, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that, but it's using modern infrastructure. So this is combining traditional Windows desktops and apps with modern cloud concepts. Very similar to something like Exchange or SharePoint, where these are all hosted on-premise, but then they move to the cloud, and it's kind of a hybrid model where there's cloud concepts, but still there's clients to connect into them. So you might be asking, cool, but what does that mean for AVD? So it's a globally available virtual desktop and remote application offering delivered on Azure, and it's only delivered on Azure. You can use like a hybrid solution, like Azure Stack HCI, but it's still always on Azure. So it is designed as a remote desktop services replacement, and is the direction of virtual desktop technology going forward from Microsoft. So this is where all the innovation and focus is going on this space. It also offers a special edition of Windows 10 and 11 for Azure that allows for multi-session capabilities, so multiple users coming into Windows 10, which hasn't been possible in the past, and it's optimized for Office 365, which I'll touch on in a couple more slides.
So multiple users being able to come in on a 365 membership. Can you expand that on that a little bit? Is that something that is differentiated in Azure Virtual Desktop itself?
Yes, it is. So you see this, you might be able to see my cursor, but we've got Windows 10 or 11 desktop or workload running in Azure. So we can have myself, we can have Matt, we can have maybe Paul come into this one single workload and share those resources, and that's really important because it hasn't been an option before. You could do it remote desktop services, but it was only on Windows Server, and that worked. But Microsoft never really intended it to be like that. Kind of just took on a life of its own. So this is why they've come out with AVD. They've done Windows 10 and 11 multi-session. So it's fit for purpose for what people are trying to use it for.
Great. Excellent. Thank you.
So AVD is both a product and an infrastructure offering. So the product side, AVD management layer is being provided as a platform as a service offering or PaaS. where effectively that layer is offloaded to Microsoft as opposed to you hosting it all yourself or through Kinetics in your data center. So, like I was saying,
so no requirement for a server on premise.
No, not at all. So this is what I was saying before, where back in the days, you had Exchange, SharePoint, Teams, or Link, or Skype, whatever they're calling it back then. That was all on premise. You're looking after it, or watering and feeding it. If, say, something happened there, all the users are affected.
Okay.
And now we just have these clients that connect out to these cloud services, like my Outlook client connecting out to Exchange. I have a remote desktop client that connects out to my apps and desktops, and it's same thing with AVD. Then there's the infrastructure offering part, or IaaS. So this is really referring to the workload, so where the users are going to do their work. So whether it's a desktop, maybe it's an application, maybe it's like a line of business app, like it could be Infinity, it could be MOB, it could just be the productivity apps, right? So it could be Excel, PowerPoint, even things like Teams. And this infrastructure part is, because it's in Azure, it allows us to quickly virtualize and deploy these modern legacy desktop application offerings quite rapidly.
Great.
And we were sort of saying before around this new capability only in Azure. So this is kind of two main offerings, so personal and pooled. So personal is one user to one virtual machine. So Matt gets his own dedicated workload. He's got his own Windows 10, 11 instance. Only he uses that. And then there's other example we're talking about where multiple people are coming in. So me and Matt are sharing this desktop here. That's kind of what it's the two main offerings. The difference is why you might use one or the other. A personal is good if you don't want, say, Matt to be interfering with what I'm doing. Maybe I'm running up some 3D software and I don't want whatever Matt's doing to start affecting me and I can't do my job. But maybe on the flip side, me and Matt are just using some productivity apps, maybe some line of business apps like MOB and Infinity, and we can share those resources and it's not going to impact each other too much. Did anyone have any questions? I mean, like it to be quite an interactive session. So if anyone does, just like Matt was saying, just pop them into the chat. More than happy to take a look at them, or we can just do the Q&A at the end.
No questions as yet. Carry on.
So we'll move on to the benefits slide.
So from this perspective, we sort of see three very obvious main benefits from deploying AVD within your environments, and that's the fact that employees can access virtual desktops and applications from anywhere, and those are managed, and from that perspective, you've got control over the access to those applications. You've got a platform which basically handles the compute or the infrastructure side of things, that as Andrew was saying before. So the performance of those applications via your web access is equivalent to that if you were running on the latest hardware. And so from that perspective, it makes it very cost effective for your edge computing. A variety of different devices can access a consistent desktop with consistent performance across your environment. And then as you're moving more of your what were legacy applications into the cloud, you're doing it in a very secure and safe way. All of the best practices for Microsoft 365 security access, the multi-factor authentication, the encryption, and all of those things that you would normally expect are available in a safe and secure fashion by using AVD. Would you like to flesh that out or add any additional information there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm just going to try switch audio. Can you guys hear me all right? Just I heard it's all Fiona's that made a comment in the chat.
That's actually better.
That's good. Cool. So yeah, as Matt was saying, these are the main benefits that we kind of see for AVD. The productivity is another one that I kind of see in addition to Matt is an intuitive user experience, because it's delivering a native experience that they're used to, whether you're at work, at home, on your like Windows 10 or 11 device, they are used to. The apps function the same. The apps even appear as if they're running locally, which we do a demo, so I can show you once we get to that. Also on the productivity, so because this is all running in Azure, it gives you scalable performance. So you can expand with demand and need on the fly using Azure platform. So you can scale up and down as required. So you can ensure that user experience isn't impacted by any resource constraints. You don't have to wait for things to be ordered in, upgraded, changed, IT to make some changes. You can just do this on the fly and on demand. On the cost-effective side, so back on how we're using Azure. So we're using the elasticity of Azure through the auto-scaling technology. So you can schedule workloads to start and stop based on business hours to reduce cost and complexity, as well as demand, like what you're saying, from users. So we could set something like peak hours. So maybe at 10 a.m., everyone's logging on, so we got more workloads spun up. And then maybe about 3, 4 p.m., everyone's leaving, try to beat some of the rush hour traffic. So we want to spin those workloads down. So we can ensure we're only paying for what we need when we need it. And it's quite flexible in regard as well. Say, well, we've got people who work 24/7, they work these weird hours. So you can also sort of make what Microsoft calls a commitment for the compute for a term, and you can get a pretty good discount on that. And that can reduce some of the complexity there as well. Again, on the cost-effective side, so there isn't multiple licensing costs involved with AVD as it's being provided as an entitlement. So we usually do see some reduction in less complexity there.
And I suppose the standard recommendation that we have for all of our clients is to actually migrate to Microsoft Office Professional. And from that perspective, that covers all of the licensing requirements that you would ever need for deploying AVD within your business. It also meets all of the requirements for migration to our foundation support managed services offering. So yeah, really good continuity from a licensing perspective to use this product without any additional cost.
And just one last comment on the basically the security side. So you can ensure, and this is probably important to a lot of people these days, especially with all the there's threat actors out there trying to steal your data, trying to scan you, trying to phish you. You can ensure that your corporate data and applications in this secure enclave. It's like a sandbox where you can ensure the compliance, the auditing. You can control what people do and they can't do. If they do something malicious, you can audit that and see what they've done. And this is quite popular in institutions like banking, healthcare, and government, because they have that security requirement. So it can really enforce those security requirements to make sure that none of your IP is being lost, nothing malicious is happening to your users or your data.
Good call.
Is there anything else you want to touch on that slide, Matt?
No, I think that's all. Thank you.
Yep. So as I've said, you're probably gathering, so it's integrated into the Microsoft ecosystem. So not just in Azure, but we will touch on that. But it's integrated into the Microsoft 365 platform. The main ones that I see here the big ones is the security and management of M365. So this is going to allow you to do things like multi-factor authentication with conditional access. And this is using Entra or Azure Active Directory. And so what I mean by this is we have our cloud-only identity, and then we can enforce policies of how we want people to connect. So, for example, myself, I can only connect from New Zealand and Australia because that's primarily where I work from. I work from New Zealand, but sometimes I travel to Australia, so I'm only allowed to come from there. Maybe my device also needs to meet some certain criteria before it's allowed to access corporate resources. That the posture of the device is the AV up to date? Do I have meet these certain criteria to be allowed in for accessing my corporate resources? It's also optimized for Office 365. So what this means, you can get the look and feel you're familiar with along with that native experience. So this includes optimizations across Teams, OneDrive, and Outlook. And I think this is really important because this hasn't been the case in the past. In RDS, it's worked, it's kind of worked, sometimes worked.
It's very
And
separated though, and
yeah,
yeah, difficult to make sure you've got a consistent experience.
yep, yep. So I mean, in that regard, a lot of people look to Citrix because they did a lot of these optimizations that weren't in RDS. But again, sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't. It can get quite complicated, or you couldn't justify the cost because they're quite an enterprise sort of product. But now we can deliver this native experience with AVD. On the AVD side itself, so it is using a modernized protocol. So this can adapt to the bandwidth conditions, has fast load times, log off times, and we've got containerized user profiles. It's also making use, as I was saying before, is Entra or Azure AD authentication. So this is our identity. You can also join those workloads to Entra, which in some cases can remove the need for traditional Active Directory. So this means you can really go for that cloud first identity, which I think a lot of people have wanted to, but they haven't been able to. And on the Azure side itself, so we can ensure security and modernization because we're using a standardized global cloud. And this can give us end-to-end security by using the Azure platform. This is across our identity, our devices, our networking, our infrastructure, and our data.
A quick question there with regards to the Azure platform. Do you have any thoughts or comments for the audience with regards to the investment in Azure data centers in New Zealand, and what effect that might have on latency times and compute power, etc.?
I think a lot of people have been waiting for the New Zealand data center to come online. I think their concern around latency is being a big one, as well as data sovereignty. And then depending on what you're doing, those are justifiable things. But saying like AVD latency, if the resources are all running inside Azure, so in Australia at the moment, that latency isn't really a huge concern. The latency really is just in the authentication, because all the resources that are tied to those workloads are right next to each other.
Yep.
And we're just streaming down basically the images, the video, the bitmaps down to us. Where it can be a challenge is if you're trying to do something else. But on the good news, Microsoft have sort of said this year it's coming, and probably around Q4 of the calendar year as well.
Great.
And there also is the option to, say you're in Australia East now, there are ways you can get that data back into New Zealand. But if you say, you know what, I did want all that data to come back in New Zealand, all my workload is running here,
Yep.
it's not a huge task, right?
Great.
And we do have a lot of customers at the moment who are running in Australia.
Nice one. Thank you.
We're also relying on Microsoft's powerful cyber defense operations. So they have over 3,500 full-time security professionals. They get about 6.5 trillion signals daily. This is globally. And they have a 1 billion annual cybersecurity investment. And I was at Microsoft a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to, over the next 10 years, this is going to go up to 10 billion. So they're really hammering down on their security. They also have the most compliance and security certifications of any cloud provider. So no one beats it. Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft kind of wins in that regard.
Good stuff.
And so Azure itself, it's globally distributed data center. So it's across 60 plus regions, 140 countries. So that's pretty huge. But some of the benefits that this gives us, and this is cloud in general, but luckily for us, it applies to AVD because AVD lives within Azure. It's scalable and resilient, so you can scale those IT needs based on your business needs. And this is anywhere in the world as well. And this has resiliency baked into the platform. It's not an afterthought. It's there by default. And if you want to go further than that, you certainly can. There's also flexibility, so it offers flexible deployment models, like hybrid and multi-cloud deployments. It's easy and fast to deploy to users, including how and when you deploy resources. So do I want to deploy in a different region because I've got contractors working overseas, things like that. And then as well as secure, so providing a secure environment for hosting your applications and data.
Good stuff.
And not too much on licensing because we don't want to bore people too much. But I think it is important to note. It is required per user. and AVD, as I was saying before, is provided as an entitlement with eligible licenses. So the most common is Microsoft 365 based licenses, and on Matt was saying before, what we recommend is M365 Business Premium, because not only does this give you access into the AVD platform, but it's also part of readiness for Copilot. And if that's not something your organization is looking at, it probably will be, especially as it ramps up a bit more.
Yep.
And it also, so those are great benefits, AVD ready, Copilot ready, but there's also a bunch of security it gives you as well.
Important to note that.
Yep. Cool. So the next slide, Matt, was just the demo, unless you want to touch on anything else with the licensing.
No, that's all. As far as any licensing is concerned, please reach out to your account manager. We'll take you through, what you've currently got and what you need, if any additional requirements are required to get access to the platform. So yeah, over to you to
Yep.
do the demo.
I'll just stop sharing my screen and reshare it. Can you see that right, Matt?
Yep, loud and clear.
Cool. Perfect. So as I was saying before, all I need is a local client. So I have one here, the Windows application, and this is going to give me access into my resources. This is on Windows, but it could be on iOS, could be on Android through their stores, or it could just be through a browser through HTML, right? So any browser, you can get into your resources that way. Obviously, what we recommend for the kind of the fullest feature set and functionality is the native application, and that's what I'm going to run through today. So we go to sign in. It's prompting me for my identity, so I'm going to use my my Azure directory, so my cloud identity. And now it's prompting me for my password. And this is what I was saying before. So now it's going away. It's prompting me for MFA through conditional access, and it's also used number matching. So, which I think is really important as well. So it's not just there's a notification on my phone, tick approve, and maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. So it ensures that what I'm approving, I have to sort of know what it is. Go and do that. Oops, I just approved it on my phone and it's flying through. So now what it's going to go do is it's going to go away, basically talk to its cloud services, and pull down my workspace. My workspace is just whatever resources have been allocated to me through IT, through Kinetics. So we, like I was saying, so we have our home screen, so whatever has been pinned in here. But we can come down here, we can see all of our devices. We can also see all of our applications. And so in here, we have a lot of line of business applications. So there's some for accounting, like MYOB, there's productivity apps, but it's important to note in here that it could be something else like Infinity, it could be OneLaw. Basically, the approach we take is if it runs today in a Windows environment, RDS environment, there's no reason why it won't work in an AVD scenario. Simply not here because I don't have access to all the software. But what you see here is a lot of different applications, right? There's things like a Creda and stuff. So what we'll do, I'll jump into an application. So maybe we want to access our work just through the apps and not a full desktop. Going away, it's starting it up, basically connecting to our resources in Azure, and then it's going to be streamed down to us. Oops, come on to the other screen. Let's drag that across. And like I was saying before, it appears if it's running locally, the only differentiator is this little icon down there. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like it is a local app. And it also functions if it's as if it's installed locally. I mean, there's nothing sort of really tell you it's not, other than that little icon. So we can come in here, we can go through all of our screens, see all our data.
It's actually not showing anything, Matt, Andrew?
It's not?
No, it's just a black screen.
Something else. Little black screen?
Yep.
Okay. Let me put my desktop. Sorry about that. So the reason it's doing that is because I have a policy that you can't snip anything. So I didn't think it would apply to screen sharing. So it's a security thing. So someone can't come and try take a snip, try to get that data out of there. Can you see anything now, Matt, through the desktop?
No.
No.
Sorry about this, everybody. Security
Yes.
policies have snuck up to bite us on this one.
Did anyone have any questions just while I go away and untick a box in the Azure platform?
Yeah, feel free to ask any questions as we go. No questions as yet, Andrew.
Hopefully that means we answered all of them and we've thoroughly informed everyone. Yes, very excited about this, guys. We've announced security impacts user productivity in the form of a demo.
Well, why don't we go back to some of the use cases that
Yes.
this can be used for while you're having a look at that. I'll just represent this. Okay, so what are some of the use cases that you could have for this? So in the first aspect, when you're looking at remote work flexibility, really viable for small, medium enterprise businesses who are looking to have a consistent access across distributed teams. So with the same security protocols and frameworks that they'd expect for their own internal employees. Then there's this option of maximizing the use of your legacy applications, which need to be used as a core part of your daily working lives. Many applications have not been cloud ready, but through the AVD environment, a lift and shift approach is absolutely relevant, and we've done this in a number of our customers' examples, and we're happy to actually run sort of pilot sessions to actually test it in your own legacy applications. And then the third use case is when you've got seasonal or a temporary workforce. Again, the requirement for you to be able to have a consistent, highly secure access to your applications and all of your policies being rolled out across those, in many cases, part-time access and part-time users. So those are three key use cases which we've found have a particular relevance for Kinetics type clients, and would welcome any questions if you've got as to whether this would be relevant specifically for you and your environment. And as I said, if you want further information, you can reach out to your account manager, and basically we can come and go through your specific use case to test the readiness. How's things looking now, Andrew?
I am hoping we're good to go. It's just connecting. Yep, we can give it a go now if that's all right.
Yeah, we've just got a minute to go, so hopefully we'll end on time.
Okay, well, I'll make it quick. You better make me a presenter, Matt, so I can share.
You can't share from your screen. I thought you just.
Oh no, there we go. Sorry. Cool. So I've got the application. Let's start following up quickly. And hopefully this time you guys will be able to see what I was talking about.
Here we go.
All right, can you see that, Matt?
Yeah, can see that loud and clear now. So that's your MIOB login screen.
Yes. So I'm presented with multiple income streams. Maybe I'll have a look at something in here. Maybe I just want to jump in and go through my employee list.
Yep.
Maybe you want to add one, but no, we don't. Maybe we can edit someone, go through the details, the leave entitlements. And this is for accounting, but this could be more relevant to you and your industry. So it could be law, could be medical, basically anything that, as I was saying, you're running in your Windows environment today, you can run in here.
That's great. I'm glad we worked through that. Through that, Andrew. We are now end of time for the session, everyone, and I'm keen to wrap it up from a time perspective. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to join us. As I said, we've got a video of this which we can share, and also the content of the PowerPoint presentation. So Andrew, thank you for providing your expertise and going through AVD on behalf of Kinetics and our clients. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks everyone for coming.
Cheers.